What if the most powerful people are the ones who speak the least? Could silence be the sharpest tool in your arsenal for strength and clarity? And what if mastering your mind, not your words, is the true secret to influence? A wise man once said, "Nothing," because true wisdom doesn't crave attention. It waits for the right moment to speak. You see, wise individuals speak only when they truly have something to say. Fools, on the other hand, talk simply because they feel compelled to fill the silence. We're all too familiar with those who talk just to be heard, filling the air with empty words, hoping noise will mask the absence of real insight. But the ancient Stoics, they understood the deeper truth. To them, words weren't casual, they were deliberate. Words were weapons, sharp, precise, and only effective when used with intention. More importantly, the Stoics recognized that silence is not a void. It's a space where observation, understanding, and growth quietly flourish. It's through silence that we gain awareness of others, of our environment, and most importantly, of ourselves. So, when you choose to speak less and listen more, something remarkable happens. Your words begin to carry more weight. People lean in when you talk. Your voice begins to matter, not because it's loud, but because it's meaningful. Lesson 1. The Stoics' Quiet Strength. Where does true power really come from? Is it in brute strength, social status, the number of followers you have? Or could it be hidden somewhere far quieter? The Stoics believed that real strength lives within, not in muscle or influence, but in the calm, resilient mind that doesn't react impulsively. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers, put it simply, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This insight isn't just poetic, it's foundational. It anchors our very first lesson, the power of quiet strength. So why did the Stoics put such emphasis on mental fortitude? Because they knew something we often forget, that the greatest battles we face aren't happening out there, they're happening inside us. Our fears, our cravings, our unchecked emotions. These shape our lives more than any external force. 2. Develop quiet strength is to build an unshakable core. Imagine facing a wave of criticism. The average person may get defensive or shut down. But the Stoic? They pause, they listen, they evaluate. Is the criticism fair? Is there truth to it? If yes, they adjust. If not, they move on, untouched. This way of thinking doesn't just save mental energy, it accelerates emotional maturity. But what does it actually mean to cultivate a quiet mind? It begins, like most deep practices, in the stillness of reflection. Each evening, take a few moments to ask yourself, what emotions flared up today? What triggered them? Could I have responded with more calm, more reason, more grace? This habit, done consistently, rewires your reactions. It makes calm your default state, not chaos. Over time, you become someone who isn't easily shaken. And as we'll explore next, the Stoics also had another powerful insight, one that reshapes how we view everything around us, the impermanence of all things. As we touched on earlier, cultivating a quiet mind isn't just about retreating into silence. It's about showing up fully, moment by moment, without letting the noise of life rattle your core. How often do you catch yourself holding on, clinging to a memory, a success, or even a failure, as if letting go would somehow diminish its value. Whether joyful or painful, we tend to grasp onto moments, replaying them endlessly in our minds. But Aelius Hadrianus left us with a piercing reminder: you could leave life right now. Let that thought settle in, not to frighten you, but to awaken you. This realization isn't meant to provoke anxiety. On the contrary, it's a compass pointing us back to the present. It urges us to speak with honesty, act with intention, and think with clarity. When we embrace this awareness, we begin to live more fully, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but right. Here and now, we immerse ourselves in the moment, not by holding on tightly, but by experiencing it deeply, and then letting it pass. What about the challenges we face in daily life? Every single hardship, every uncomfortable situation is not just a nuisance, it's a test, a classroom, a training ground. These moments are invitations to practice the Stoic virtues: discipline when things fall apart, patience when things move too slowly, and courage when fear tries to take the wheel. So the next time you encounter a difficult situation, try asking yourself, what is this here to teach me? This question shifts your mindset. Instead of seeing obstacles as setbacks, you start to see them as stepping stones, tools that sharpen your resolve and help you build a quieter, stronger mind. And speaking of inner strength, how often are you swayed by the opinions of others? How many of your decisions are shaped by the fear of judgment or the need for approval? The Stoics emphasized something radical yet timeless. Inner conviction should outweigh outer validation. This doesn't mean you disregard everyone else's input. It means you learn to filter external voices through the lens of your own reason and values. You become grounded, not because you never listen, but because you've learned when not to bend. For a practical step, focus on one Stoic principle: control over your reactions. The next time a wave of emotion hits, anger, frustration, anxiety, pause. Take a deep breath. Then ask yourself, is my reaction aligned with reason, or am I letting the moment control me? That brief pause can be the difference between regret and growth. Lesson 2. Harnessing silence in interpersonal dynamics. Have you ever noticed how silence in the right moment can speak volumes? It can end an argument, strengthen a bond, or reveal truths words would only hide. This is where the Stoics truly shine. They teach us to use silence not as a retreat, but as a tool. In our relationships, silence gives us space to listen, not just to hear, but to truly understand. Because when you choose to listen more and speak less, something changes. Your relationships deepen. You begin to pick up on subtle emotional cues, tone shifts, and unspoken tensions. You hear what's behind the words, not just the words themselves. Think back to a recent conversation. Did you really listen, or were you already preparing your response before the other person had even finished? Silence gives us the chance to reflect instead of react. And in that space, wisdom has room to breathe. Up next, we'll explore how this calm, quiet strength doesn't just transform your inner world. It can reshape the way you lead, influence, and inspire those around you. Previously, we explored how silence isn't just about restraint. It's a tool for deeper listening and stronger human connection. Now let's take a closer look at how this quiet power can elevate the way we communicate and resolve conflict. When used with intention, silence sharpens our ability to communicate. It allows us to pause, reflect, and prevent the kind of misunderstandings that often spiral from rushed, emotional responses. Ask yourself, how often do you react instantly, only to realize later that you didn't fully understand the situation? The next time you feel that surge of emotion or urgency to speak, try this. Embrace a brief moment of silence, just a breath, just a pause, to gather your thoughts before responding. That simple space can change everything. The Stoics also held empathy in high regard, and silence, interestingly, is deeply tied to it. When we quiet our own internal noise, we create space for the experiences and perspectives of others. This kind of empathetic silence isn't passive, it's powerful. It says, I respect you enough to listen deeply. Think back to a moment when someone gave you their full, undivided attention. No interruptions, no judgments, just presence. How did that feel? Chances are it left a mark. Those moments have a way of strengthening bonds, fostering mutual respect, and building a foundation of trust. Another essential Stoic teaching is practical wisdom, knowing when to speak and when to stay silent. In today's fast-paced, always-on world, the ability to hold your tongue is more than a virtue. It's a rare strength. That kind of restraint helps us avoid saying things we might regret, words that can't be unsaid. Have you ever wished you could take back something you blurted out in the heat of the moment? That sting of regret is a reminder. Silence, thoughtfully applied, protects our relationships and our peace of mind. And when it comes to conflict, silence becomes even more important. Disagreements are part of life, but the way we handle them, that defines the depth and quality of our relationships. The Stoic approach to conflict is not about being passive or avoiding confrontation. It's about entering the situation with a calm demeanor and a quiet mind. Instead of reacting emotionally, you respond intentionally, measured, peaceful, and rational. Can you imagine how your next disagreement might shift if you led with quiet composure instead of defensiveness? Finally, silence plays a vital role in self-reflection. The Stoics believed our external relationships are mirrors of our internal world. If we want deeper connections with others, we must first make space within ourselves. Cultivating inner silence gives us room to explore our own thoughts, emotions, and motivations. What biases are driving our behavior? What needs or fears are we projecting onto others? In these moments of quiet, we discover the root of our reactions and the path to improving our interactions. So, what might you uncover during your next moment of stillness that could change the way you relate to those around you? Up next, we'll explore how this Stoic quietude doesn't just help us relate to others, it also prepares us to face life's greatest trials with unwavering strength. As we've seen, silence isn't merely the absence of speech, it's a strategic choice that sharpens awareness, deepens relationships, and brings clarity to our inner world. Now it's time to turn that quiet strength outward and explore how it can transform the way we handle feedback and criticism. To truly experience the power of silence in daily life, start by putting it into practice. Intentionally. Begin with one simple exercise. Each day, choose a conversation where you make a conscious effort to speak less and listen more. Don't just hear the words, observe the tone, the pauses, the unspoken meanings. What changes when you shift from reacting to receiving, you may notice the dynamic of the conversation subtly shift. People may open up more. They may feel more heard, more respected. And you'll begin to realize how much influence silence has, not through dominance, but through presence. This deliberate practice often reveals something profound, that silence, when used with purpose, doesn't distance us. It draws us closer. It strengthens our ability to connect, to empathize, and to gently influence those around us without overpowering them. Because the quiet strength of the Stoic mind isn't only about personal serenity, it's about becoming a force of calm and clarity in the lives of others. Lesson 3. Managing criticism with quiet strength. How do you usually respond when someone criticizes you? Do you get defensive, shut down? Or maybe you internalize it and let it fester? This lesson dives into the Stoic method for handling criticism, not with ego or avoidance, but with the quiet strength of a composed mind. To the Stoics, every piece of criticism, whether kind or cutting, is an opportunity, a test of resilience, a chance to strengthen your humility and practice self-control. When you approach criticism with a calm and still mind, you strip away the sting and see the message for what it truly is. Feedback, a tool. Sometimes it even reveals truths we've overlooked. Imagine how much peace you'd retain if you stopped viewing criticism as an attack and started seeing it as a mirror for growth. This mindset begins with one core Stoic belief, that it's not other people's words that harm us, but how we choose to interpret them. So, when someone critiques you, pause. Detach your identity from the feedback. Instead of reacting emotionally, examine the message objectively. Is there truth here? Is this something I can learn from? This shift in perspective helps you stay grounded, calm, reflective. How often have you let a careless comment throw off your entire day? What if instead you trained yourself to separate fact from feeling, to extract wisdom from noise? The Stoics also urge us to practice reflection before reaction. When criticized, resist the urge to immediately defend yourself. Take a breath, literally. Let the space between stimulus and response grow. This brief pause is powerful. It not only protects your peace, it gives you time to assess the intent behind the words. Was the feedback genuine? Could it be highlighting something you've been blind to? This moment of silence, of inner stillness, can turn a confrontation into a chance for personal elevation. And here's another tool from the Stoic playbook. Question the validity of the criticism itself. Don't accept or reject it too quickly. Examine it like a philosopher inspecting a stone for flaws. Is it sound? Is it useful? Or is it simply noise you can discard without harm? Coming up next, we'll uncover how this same mindset, calm, quiet, and grounded, can help us navigate not just criticism, but the ever-changing challenges of life itself. In the previous section, we explored how a calm, reflective mindset can help you approach criticism with clarity. Now, let's go deeper into how to distinguish helpful feedback from noise, and how even negative words can become tools for growth. The first step when receiving criticism is to pause, and then ask yourself a simple but powerful question. Is this feedback rooted in fact, or is it just someone's opinion? This act of questioning is more than a mental check. It's a Stoic technique for clarity. It creates space between you and the judgment being thrown your way. And that space, that's where you regain control. You can now assess whether this criticism deserves your attention or your indifference. By taking a more analytical approach, you begin to see interactions not as personal battles, but as opportunities for insight. This mindset is a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy, to respond with reason, not impulse. But how do you decide which criticisms are worth your time? Developing a personal set of criteria based on your values, goals, and sense of integrity can help. Ask yourself, does this criticism point to something that affects my growth? Is it coming from someone I respect or trust? Is it aligned with the direction I'm trying to go? This filter strengthens your decision-making muscle, helping you avoid unnecessary mental clutter. Interestingly, the Stoics also taught the importance of gratitude, even when the situation feels unpleasant, like receiving harsh feedback. At first, it may sound counterintuitive. Be grateful for criticism, but look closer. Every piece of feedback, especially the uncomfortable kind, has the potential to reveal something valuable. A blind spot, a bad habit, or a better way forward. Instead of letting your ego flare up, ask, what can I learn from this? What part of this might actually be useful? This practice of grateful reflection not only softens the blow of harsh words, but also aligns perfectly with the Stoic goal of constant self-improvement. Have you ever walked away from a tough conversation and, after some thought, realized it helped you grow in ways you didn't expect? Another vital Stoic insight is recognizing the limits of your control, especially when it comes to other people's opinions. You can't control what others think of you. You can't force them to approve, agree, or applaud. What you can control is how you respond. That shift in focus is liberating. It frees you from the exhausting chase of trying to please everyone, a goal that's not only impossible, but ultimately draining. So instead of seeking approval, aim for alignment with your values, your principles, your integrity. When was the last time you felt truly at peace, even knowing that someone disagreed with you? True quiet strength lies in that inner calm and doing what's right, even when it's unpopular. Another practice that reinforces this mindset is the feedback loop. After receiving criticism and taking time to reflect, consider taking the next step. Reach out, ask for clarification, invite deeper input. This act not only shows maturity, it demonstrates your commitment to growth. It tells others that you're not afraid of feedback, that you're willing to learn, adjust, and evolve. Over time, this habit builds resilience. You become someone who doesn't just survive criticism, you grow through it. Think about it. How could creating feedback loops, asking for input, clarifying misunderstandings, strengthen your relationships, and accelerate your personal growth? Practical application. Here's a simple yet powerful exercise. Think of a recent moment when someone criticized you. Write down your raw, unfiltered emotional reaction. Don't edit. Be honest. Then, apply Stoic reasoning. Step back. Ask, was there truth in their words? What part, if any, was useful? How can I use this feedback to improve my character, my skills, or my choices? This kind of reflective analysis helps you transform criticism from a threat into a tool. It trains your mind to remain quiet, composed, and focused, no matter what life throws your way. And as we'll see next, this steady inner calm becomes even more essential when you're faced not just with criticism, but with real, life-altering adversity. As we've seen, every critique, no matter how difficult, is a chance to strengthen your character. Now we shift our focus inward once again to confront two of the most persistent forces that disrupt our peace: fear and anxiety. Lesson 4. Overcoming fear and anxiety with quiet strength. How do you usually respond when fear creeps in? When anxiety starts to tighten its grip? This lesson explores the Stoic path to facing these emotional storms, not by denying them, but by mastering them through the quiet resilience of the mind. The Stoics understood a deep truth that still rings loudly today. Most of our fear and anxiety doesn't come from what's actually happening. It comes from our judgments about what might happen. It's not the future itself that rattles us, it's the stories we tell ourselves about it. By practicing Stoic principles, we can shift our focus from the uncontrollable chaos of what if to the grounded strength of what is. In doing so, we return to the present moment and to our power. Imagine the calm you could cultivate if you no longer panicked over what you couldn't predict. This isn't about suppressing your emotions. Stoicism doesn't teach you to become numb or cold. Instead, it teaches you to observe your emotions, understand them, and respond from a place of reason and strength. The foundation of this mastery lies in a key Stoic distinction. What can I control, and what can't I? The next time you feel anxiety rising, pause and examine the situation. Ask yourself, is this within my control? Often your answer will be no. The outcome of a job interview, someone else's opinion, tomorrow's news, these lie outside your influence. But your thoughts, your actions, your mindset, these are fully yours, and that realization is liberating. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you begin to reclaim your peace. Another essential Stoic tool is mindfulness, a powerful practice for breaking the cycle of fear. Mindfulness doesn't mean emptying your mind. It means filling it with what's actually real, this moment, right now. Instead of drifting into the past or spiraling into the future, bring your awareness back to your senses. What do you see? What do you hear? What textures are beneath your fingertips? What smells in the air? These grounding techniques gently pull you out of anxious overthinking and anchor you in reality. How does your emotional state shift when you focus completely on the here and now? Another profound Stoic method is the practice of negative visualization, a technique we introduced in earlier lessons. It may sound counterintuitive, even pessimistic, but it's a powerful tool for mental strength. Here's how it works. Instead of avoiding thoughts about worst-case scenarios, you face them, deliberately and with clarity. You imagine, in detail, what the worst outcome might look like. Why? Not to wallow in fear, but to reduce its power. When you mentally prepare for difficulties, you strip away their mystery. You confront the unknown, and in doing so, make it less terrifying. It's like training in the dark so you're ready when the lights go out. So, how might your outlook shift if you anticipated challenges? Not with dread, but with calm preparation. Coming up next, we'll look at how Stoicism doesn't just help us navigate fear, It equips us to build a life of enduring purpose, guided not by panic or pressure, but by reason, resilience, and quiet strength. In the previous lesson, we explored how fear loses its power when we respond with preparation and perspective. Now let's build on that by discovering how small, intentional steps can turn fear into strength and uncertainty into growth. Have you ever noticed that something you feared once it actually happened turned out to be far less terrifying than you imagined? It's a familiar experience, and the Stoics understood this well. Their wisdom teaches us that our imagination often exaggerates the threat. Once we face the reality, it's rarely as overwhelming as our mind made it out to be. That's why the Stoics advocated for developing resilience through exposure. But this doesn't mean diving headfirst into your deepest fears. It's not about reckless bravery. Instead, it's about taking small, intentional steps toward the things that scare you. Gradual exposure shrinks the power fear holds over your mind. Each time you face a fear just a little, you send a message to yourself, I can handle this. And that message, repeated over time, builds a strong foundation of confidence. So, what's one small step you could take today toward overcoming a fear that's been holding you back? Another powerful Stoic tool is reflection on impermanence. The idea is simple but profound. Nothing lasts forever. Joy, sadness, triumph, and hardship all are fleeting. The Stoics encouraged us to keep this truth close, especially during moments of anxiety or distress. When you're overwhelmed, try reminding yourself, this too shall pass. Let that thought settle in. Imagine it like a wave, rising, cresting, and then falling away. How might your emotional state shift if you truly embraced this impermanence? This balanced view helps you avoid being swept away by highs or crushed by lows. You begin to live with more stability, no longer at the mercy of every emotional swing. In alignment with this mindset is the Stoic concept of amor fati, the love of fate. This powerful idea invites you not just to accept what life brings, but to embrace it. It means choosing to trust that every experience, even the painful or unexpected, contains value. When you begin to see life not as something to fear or resist, but as something to engage with fully, fear transforms. Anxiety gives way to curiosity. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? What would happen if you welcomed each challenge as a teacher? Practical exercise. Here's your next reflection. Think back to a recent moment when anxiety got the better of you. What triggered it? Write it down. Then, reevaluate your response using Stoic tools. Did you focus on what you could control? Could mindfulness, anchoring yourself in the present, or negative visualization, mentally preparing for the worst, have helped shift your perspective? Try applying these methods regularly. Over time, you'll find your mind becoming quieter, your emotions more stable, and your resilience stronger. Because ultimately, the power to change your emotional landscape doesn't lie in the world around you. It lies within you. And now, we move from managing our emotions to something more practical, but no less personal. How Stoic Quiet Strength can reshape the way we view money, wealth, and financial decisions. Previously, we reflected on the inner strength it takes to face anxiety with grace. Now we turn to another area of life that tests our discipline and values every single day: money. When guided by Stoic wisdom, financial decisions are no longer ruled by impulse or fear. They become grounded in clarity, moderation, and meaning. This approach doesn't just support financial stability, it also ensures that our money aligns with our values. One of the most important lessons Stoicism offers is the ability to distinguish between needs and desires. A Stoic approach to finances begins by asking, what do I truly need for a content and functional life? Instead of chasing every fleeting want, Stoics focus on what's essential. This simple but powerful shift in thinking can help prevent the buildup of unnecessary debt, reduce financial stress, and lead to a life that feels more intentional and less cluttered. Take a moment to reflect on your own spending habits. How often do you spend money on things you want versus things you truly need? By practicing this discipline, you not only improve your financial well-being, but you also begin to break free from the exhausting cycle of consumerism, the constant desire for more, newer, better. Another pillar of Stoic financial wisdom is the principle of sufficiency. Stoics strive to reach a point where they feel they have enough. This state of mind fosters deep contentment and gratitude, two qualities that are incredibly rare in today's world of endless comparison and consumption. Think about your own financial goals. Are they rooted in a genuine sense of sufficiency, or are they driven by a desire that can never be fully satisfied? Learning to appreciate what you already have can be transformative. It doesn't just lower financial anxiety, it also makes you happier, more present, and less reactive to external pressures. Stoics also emphasize foresight and preparation when it comes to finances. This means saving, investing, and planning ahead, not from a place of fear, but from rational awareness. Ask yourself, how prepared are you for unexpected financial challenges? A medical emergency, a job loss, an economic downturn, building a cushion, having a plan. These are not signs of pessimism, but of maturity. Regular financial check-ins can help keep your goals aligned, reduce stress, and bring peace of mind. In the world of investing, the Stoic idea of non-attachment becomes especially powerful. Rather than being swayed by emotions, Stoics maintain a calm, reasoned mindset. Gains don't excite them too much. Losses don't crush them. They focus on the process, making informed, rational choices. How do you usually react to financial losses? Do they shake your confidence, or can you view them as part of a larger journey? Cultivating this emotional detachment can help you make wiser, steadier financial decisions, especially during times of market turbulence or uncertainty. And beyond our personal finances, Stoicism reminds us of a deeper purpose: to use our resources wisely, not just for ourselves, but for the benefit of others. That means giving back, supporting causes that matter, investing in your community. So, ask yourself, how are you using your financial strength to contribute to something greater than yourself? Coming up next, we'll take these Stoic financial insights even further, looking at how applying reason and restraint in our relationship with money can lead to a life of greater purpose, stability, and quiet confidence, as we discussed earlier. Money becomes a tool for deeper meaning when it's used not only for personal stability, but also to serve others. Now, let's explore how this financial clarity connects to a broader Stoic principle: intentional reflection and purposeful living. When we use our financial resources to support our communities or contribute to causes we care deeply about, something powerful happens. These contributions don't just benefit others, they enrich our own lives. They deepen our sense of purpose and strengthen our bonds with those around us. Aligning our financial actions with the Stoic values of service, sufficiency, and support creates a sense of harmony. It transforms money from a source of stress into a vehicle for meaning. But how do we maintain this alignment in a world that constantly pushes us to spend, accumulate, and compare? One key Stoic practice is regular reflection, not just on how much money we have, but on how and why we use it. Take time to ask yourself, when was the last time I truly reflected on my financial decisions? Are my choices guided by reason and values, or by impulse and emotion? By implementing a simple routine of financial review, weekly, monthly, or even quarterly, you can stay grounded. You stay mindful of your spending, proactive in your planning, and intentional in your giving. This habit fosters long-term peace of mind and keeps your actions in sync with your values. Practical exercise. Set aside time this week to review your current financial situation. Take a closer look at 4 areas: savings, spending, investments, and charitable giving. For each category, ask yourself, am I applying Stoic principles here? Am I practicing sufficiency, not excess? Am I making rational, forward-thinking choices? Am I supporting others where I can? Choose one specific change based on your reflection, no matter how small. Maybe it's cutting an unnecessary subscription, donating to a cause, or adjusting your savings habits. Then, observe how that change affects your sense of clarity and financial peace. These small steps compound over time, leading you toward greater freedom, not just financially, but emotionally and mentally as well. Lesson 6. Achieving life balance with quiet strength. How do you find balance when life constantly pulls you in 1,000 directions? In this next lesson, we'll explore how the Stoic ideal of quiet strength can guide us toward a life that feels aligned, focused, and truly fulfilling, not by doing more, but by doing what truly matters. Previously, we explored how simplifying our commitments can lead to a life that's more intentional and aligned with our values. Now, let's deepen that perspective by looking at how Stoics maintain life balance, not through perfection, but through purposeful practice. When we remove tasks that don't reflect our core values, something profound happens. Our productivity increases, but more importantly, so does our personal satisfaction. Think about it. How different would your days feel if your time and energy were spent only on things that truly mattered to you? The Stoics also encourage a powerful and often overlooked practice known as voluntary discomfort. This doesn't mean punishing yourself. It means occasionally choosing to live with less. By deliberately stepping outside of comfort, we strengthen our resilience and recalibrate our sense of what we really need. Have you ever tried going without something for a short time, like digital devices, social media, or certain luxuries, only to realize how little you actually missed them? These experiences help us appreciate what we have, reduce dependency, and build a more balanced, grounded lifestyle. For example, imagine what could shift in your life if you reduced your screen time. Would your conversations feel richer? Would your thoughts feel clearer? Another essential pillar of Stoic balance is mindfulness. Stoics teach that being fully present in whatever you're doing, whether it's working, resting, spending time with family, or enjoying solitude, leads to deeper appreciation and emotional clarity. Try immersing yourself fully in a single task. No multitasking, no mental wandering, just presence. What happens to the quality of your experience when you're fully there? Mindfulness allows you to engage with life more fully instead of being distracted by past regrets or future anxieties. It anchors you in the now, where real peace lives. Reflection is another practice the Stoics held sacred. They often ended each day with a quiet review, asking themselves how they lived, what they did well, and where they could improve. This habit of daily reflection can bring powerful insights. It helps identify where your time and energy may be, drifting away from your goals and where gentle course correction might be needed. What might you discover if you ended each day with a few quiet minutes of honest self-evaluation? Another key to Stoic balance is adaptation. Life rarely moves in straight lines. Circumstances shift, plans fall through, people change. And the Stoics didn't resist this. They embraced it. They believed that while we cannot control life's external chaos, we can control our response to it. By staying rooted in principle yet flexible in action, we maintain balance even in turbulent times. When life throws the unexpected your way, could you treat it not as a disruption, but as training? Lastly, Stoicism reminds us that balance isn't a solitary endeavor. Community and relationships are essential. True well-being doesn't grow in isolation. It's nourished by meaningful connections with family, friends, mentors, and even strangers. Make space for those relationships that lift you up. Offer your time, your attention, and your support. In doing so, you don't just gain strength, you give it. Because for the Stoic, contributing to the common good isn't just a nice idea. It's part of living a life that is truly whole and balanced. So how do your current relationships support your sense of balance and purpose? In the next section, we'll explore how the principles of quiet strength continue to shape how we lead, make decisions, and stay steady in a world that often pulls us in many directions at once. In our previous reflection, we looked at how categorizing our daily and weekly activities can reveal where our time is being spent, and whether that time truly reflects our values. Now let's take that clarity a step further and apply it to one of life's most difficult tasks, making decisions. Lesson 7. Stoic Quiet Strength in Decision-Making. Have you ever felt paralyzed when facing a big decision? Maybe the options felt equally heavy. Maybe the pressure made it hard to hear your own inner voice. This lesson explores how Stoic quiet strength can serve as a compass in moments of uncertainty. Instead of reacting emotionally or rushing toward resolution, the Stoics teach us to pause, clear the noise, and focus only on what truly matters. Because a quiet mind, one that isn't pulled in every direction by distractions, is far more capable of making wise, lasting decisions. Imagine the clarity you could access if you could silence the mental clutter, if you could tune out the pressure, the fear, the noise, and focus only on truth, logic, and principle. That's the decision-making, strength Stoicism offers. At the heart of this approach is the Stoic concept of the dichotomy of control. What is within your power, and what is not? When facing a decision, instead of obsessing over outcomes you can't control, like others' opinions, future events, or external circumstances, the Stoics teach you to focus on what is in your control, your effort, your attitude, your reasoning. This mental shift reduces anxiety and helps you move forward more confidently. You begin to let go of the things you can't steer and concentrate fully on steering what you can. Can you think of a recent decision where understanding this principle could have saved you from stress or hesitation? Another Stoic cornerstone in decision-making is the value of foresight. Rather than choosing based on what feels easiest in the moment, Stoics encourage us to look further ahead, to consider not just the immediate effect of our choices, but their ripple effects over time. This practice is called premeditatio, the premeditation of future consequences. It means thinking several steps beyond the present moment. What happens if I choose path A? What will this look like a year from now? 5 years? By contemplating potential outcomes, we avoid impulsive decisions driven by emotion. We prepare mentally, not for the best case, but for all cases. How often do you really stop and weigh the long-term impact of your decisions? This kind of thinking doesn't paralyze you, it grounds you. It brings logic into balance with your values and keeps your choices steady, even when circumstances aren't. And this leads us to yet another key Stoic discipline, clarity through principle, which we'll explore in the next part. Because when your values are clear, even the toughest decisions become easier to navigate. In our previous reflection, we explored the power of foresight in decision-making. Now let's deepen that insight with another timeless Stoic technique, negative visualization, an approach that may seem grim at first glance, but in truth builds powerful inner strength. One of the most underrated tools in the Stoic decision-making arsenal is negative visualization. It may sound pessimistic, even uncomfortable, but in reality, it's a surprisingly empowering practice. Here's how it works. Before making an important decision, take a moment to imagine the worst possible outcome. Picture it clearly. Play it out in your mind. At first, this might seem like you're setting yourself up for disappointment. But what actually happens is something quite different. You begin to realize that even in the worst-case scenario, you can survive. You can adapt. You can endure by confronting your fears head-on. You strip them of their power. And in doing so, you cultivate emotional resilience and greater confidence in your choices. Have you ever tried this approach? How did it influence the clarity of your decision-making? Another core Stoic teaching in this area is the value of simplicity. In a world overwhelmed by complexity and endless options, simplifying your decisions can be deeply liberating. Instead of obsessing over every detail or trying to predict every outcome, Stoicism urges us to focus only on what is essential, what truly matters, what's within your control, what action aligns with your values. By narrowing your focus, you clear away the mental noise, and what's left is clarity, decisiveness, and peace of mind. When was the last time you simplified a difficult choice, and suddenly it became much easier to make? Within the larger journey of personal growth, every decision is a chance to practice virtue. Whether it's a small choice or a major life decision, each one gives you an opportunity to embody qualities like wisdom, courage, and self-discipline. Reflecting on your decisions through a Stoic lens allows you to ask, did this decision reflect who I truly want to be? Did it align with my values and principles? Did it strengthen my character? The more you build this habit of reflection, the more your choices begin to form a clear path, one that points directly toward integrity and inner peace. Practical exercise. At the end of each day, take a few quiet moments to review the decisions you made. Were your actions within your control? Did you demonstrate foresight? Did you choose the simple, rational path instead of overcomplicating things? This practice of daily reflection isn't just about judgment, it's about growth. Over time, it sharpens your decision-making instincts and nurtures a calm, composed, and focused mind. Lesson 8. Navigating loss and grief with quiet strength. Now, we turn to one of life's most difficult chapters, loss. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, an opportunity, or a version of life we hope for, grief is inevitable. In the next section, we'll explore how Stoic Quiet Strength can help us face these painful moments not with despair, but with resilience, dignity, and a deepened sense of perspective. Previously, we began exploring how Stoic Quiet Strength can guide us through life's most painful moments, especially loss. Now let's dive deeper into how Stoicism helps us not only endure grief, but grow from it with calm, courage, and clarity. By anchoring ourselves in Stoic principles, we can maintain a quiet mind, even in the midst of profound sadness. It's not about denying grief. It's about transforming our relationship with it. Imagine if grief wasn't just something to survive, but something that could deepen your understanding of life, love, and self. Could a change in your approach to grief help you find peace? Not in spite of the pain, but through it? Stoicism begins by teaching us to expect the unexpected. Life will bring loss. People we love will leave. Plans will change. Outcomes will shift. This awareness doesn't remove the sting, but it helps soften the shock. When we accept that change and loss are inevitable, we prepare our minds to face them more directly and with less resistance. Ask yourself honestly, have I acknowledged the reality of loss in my life? Am I mentally prepared to face it when it comes? By accepting impermanence, we reduce the emotional whiplash that often accompanies unexpected grief. And through this acceptance, we gain resilience. The Stoics also spoke of detachment, not as emotional coldness, but as a balanced awareness of life's impermanence. This doesn't mean we should avoid deep relationships or shield ourselves from love. On the contrary, we are encouraged to love fully, but with the understanding that nothing and no one lasts forever. How might this perspective shift your view of relationships? Could knowing that every connection is temporary help you appreciate it more while it lasts and let go more peacefully when it ends? Another essential Stoic practice in grief is turning inward and reclaiming control, not over what happened, but over how we respond. Grief often arrives like a wave, sudden, overwhelming, unpredictable. But even within that wave, there is space to breathe, to choose. Instead of being consumed by sorrow, we can choose to honor those we've lost through our actions, through how we live, through the decisions we make moving forward. Ask yourself, what would it look like to respond to loss with intention rather than reaction? The Stoics also make one thing clear. Emotional strength does not mean emotional suppression. Stoicism is often misunderstood as emotionless, but in truth, it promotes mindful expression. Sadness, mourning, and tears are not signs of weakness. They are human. What matters is that we feel them consciously without letting them rule us. Have you given yourself permission to grieve, or have you tried to push it down, hoping it would disappear? Finding the middle ground between feeling fully and maintaining composure is at the heart of handling grief with quiet strength. One especially powerful Stoic tool for navigating loss is writing. Journaling isn't just for organizing thoughts, it's a form of therapy. Writing about your loss, your memories, and your emotions can help you process them more deeply. It gives your feelings shape and allows you to reflect with clarity, not just emotion. And in the next part, we'll explore how this same power of reflection through writing, solitude, and awareness can serve as a guiding light during the darkest of times. In our last reflection, we saw how writing can serve as a powerful tool to process grief, especially when it's rooted in gratitude and acceptance. Now, let's explore how this inward journey builds something even deeper, the unshakable strength within ourselves. Your writing during times of grief should not just revisit sorrow. It should highlight gratitude for the moments that mattered and foster acceptance of the present moment. How often do you turn to writing, or perhaps music, painting, or another creative form, to express and explore your emotions? These outlets are more than self-expression. They are acts of healing. They help bring clarity to chaos and structure to sorrow. The Stoics offer us another powerful concept in navigating emotional storms, the inner citadel. This metaphorical stronghold is a mental fortress we construct over time, a place of solitude, strength, and clarity that we can retreat into when life outside becomes turbulent. The inner citadel is not about isolation. It's about creating a steady center within ourselves, one that can withstand grief, heartbreak, or disappointment without crumbling. Ask yourself, what habits, thoughts, or practices help you build that inner stability? How can you fortify your mind to remain calm and composed even when the world around you isn't? Even in the depths of grief, Stoicism encourages one powerful, often counterintuitive practice: gratitude. It might seem strange to practice gratitude in the face of loss. But this shift in focus from what's gone to what remains can transform your emotional experience. It doesn't erase pain, but it softens its grip. What are you grateful for today, even amid the losses you've endured? By training ourselves to recognize and appreciate what we still have, our memories, our values, our capacity to love, we shift from despair to perspective. This subtle change can dramatically impact our overall well-being and our relationship with life itself. Practical exercise: choose a loss, recent or distant, that still echoes in your heart. Using the Stoic principles we've explored, acceptance, reflection, mindful emotional expression, and gratitude, revisit this experience from a new angle. Ask yourself, how did I respond? What did I learn? And how might I grow from it now? Consider writing about this experience, not to relive the pain, but to process it with more clarity. Over time, regular practice of these techniques can help build a deep reservoir of quiet strength. one that doesn't just endure sorrow, but grows from it. Because the Stoic path through grief is not merely about surviving, it's about understanding, maturing, and ultimately transforming. Lesson 9. Cultivating leadership with Stoic Quiet Strength. Now we shift our focus from inner resilience to outer influence. How does Stoic philosophy shape powerful ethical and enduring leadership? In the next lesson, we'll explore how quiet strength becomes the foundation for leading others, not by force, but through calm, clarity, and character. In the previous lesson, we touched on how Stoic philosophy equips leaders with inner calm and moral clarity. Now, let's explore how these qualities shape daily leadership through discipline, justice, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Self-discipline lies at the heart of Stoic leadership. A leader who can govern themselves, especially under pressure, sets a powerful and lasting example for everyone around them. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency, about showing that emotional control and personal responsibility lead to professional excellence. Think about your own habits. How does your self-discipline impact your team? Does your ability to remain calm under stress inspire confidence? Does it create a sense of trust and stability? The Stoics believed that true leaders don't just issue commands, they lead by character. And one of the most defining traits of Stoic leadership is justice. Stoic leaders strive to treat everyone fairly, regardless of position or status. Whether it's a junior intern or a senior executive, they apply the same standard of respect, honesty, and impartiality. This commitment to fairness doesn't just build a better team, it creates a culture of trust, transparency, and psychological safety. As a leader, how often do you pause to reflect on the fairness of your decisions? Implementing regular self-audits on justice, especially in high-stakes or emotionally charged situations, can strengthen not only your leadership, but the unity of your entire team. Another hallmark of Stoic leadership is adaptability. The Stoics understood what many leaders still struggle to accept. Change is constant. It's not an exception. It's the rule. Stoic leaders don't resist change. They anticipate it. They embrace it. And in doing so, they guide their teams through uncertainty. With clarity and confidence, how do you respond to change? Do you see it as disruption or as an opportunity to innovate, grow, and lead more effectively? Clear and honest communication is also essential to Stoic leadership. In a world of corporate jargon and vague messaging, the Stoics offer a simple principle: speak plainly and truthfully. By ensuring that your team knows what's happening and why, you create alignment, you reduce confusion, and you build a culture where people feel informed, respected, and motivated. Ask yourself, how transparent is your leadership communication? Do your team members understand your decisions, your expectations, and your values? Another often overlooked Stoic trait that shapes strong leaders is emotional intelligence. Stoic leaders aren't cold or detached. They practice empathy, connecting with their team members on a personal level. They take the time to understand motivations, frustrations, and aspirations. This human connection allows for more thoughtful leadership and more responsive support. How do you cultivate empathy in your leadership? Do you create space for genuine conversation? Sometimes a quiet one-on-one can reveal more than a dozen meetings ever could. Lastly, we arrive at one of the most humbling and powerful Stoic virtues, humility. Strong leaders don't pretend to know everything. They acknowledge their limits. They listen. They seek feedback not as a formality, but as fuel for growth. This humility prevents arrogance. It keeps a leader open, grounded, and always learning. And in the next lesson, we'll see how this humble, rational, and reflective approach can guide not just how we lead, but how we leave a lasting impact on those we serve in our previous discussion. We explored how humility and emotional intelligence shape great leadership. But leadership isn't just about guiding others, it's also about growing yourself. And that growth continues with honest feedback and daily practice. Complacency is the quiet enemy of leadership. When a leader stops learning, the entire organization suffers. But Stoic leaders keep growing because they stay humble enough to ask for feedback and strong enough to act on it. When was the last time you genuinely invited feedback on your leadership, not just as a formality, but with the true intention to listen, reflect, and improve? Seeking input from others, then implementing what you learn, shows your team that growth isn't just expected from them, but modeled by you. This mindset fosters a culture where learning is constant, mistakes are shared, and progress is celebrated. Practical exercise. Here's a practical way to embody Stoic leadership in your daily routine. Each day this week, choose one Stoic principle to focus on in your interactions. Just one. Maybe today you prioritize clear and honest communication. Tomorrow, you commit to fairness and impartiality. The next day, you lean into adaptability during unexpected changes. At the end of each day, reflect on the experience. How did that one practice affect your leadership presence? How did your team respond? Record your insights. Over time, these small, focused shifts can evolve into lasting habits because at its core, leadership isn't about position or power. It's about example. And now, as we approach the final chapter of this journey, we turn inward once again to the relationships that define our personal lives. Lesson 10: Enhancing Personal Relationships with Quiet Strength. How can Stoic philosophy strengthen our connections with the people we care about most? In this final lesson, we explore how the quiet strength of Stoicism can deepen our bonds with us, friends, family, and romantic partners alike. The Stoics understood that our relationships have a profound impact on our well-being. They believed that by cultivating a quiet mind, we create the space for more meaningful and harmonious connections. Think about it. How might your relationships transform if they were built on a foundation of patience, empathy, and emotional stability? By applying Stoic principles in our personal lives, we can improve not just how we relate to others, but how we understand ourselves in the process. One of the first principles Stoicism offers in relationships is the power of empathy. To understand someone, we must really listen, not just to their words, but to the emotions behind them. We must be willing to step into their perspective. When was the last time you truly listened without planning your response, without judging, without distraction? Active listening can reveal what's not being said aloud. It allows us to see beneath the surface of conflict and recognize the deeper needs or fears involved. And often, it's in this space that healing begins. The Stoics also teach us to manage our own reactions. Relationships are filled with emotional triggers, moments that provoke anger, frustration, or hurt. But reacting impulsively can lead to words or actions we later regret. By maintaining a quiet mind, we create distance between stimulus and response. In that space, we can choose. Choose words that heal rather than harm, responses that build trust instead of tension. As we'll explore next, this inner discipline becomes the foundation not just for surviving relationships, but for nurturing them to thrive. Previously, we explored how emotional awareness and self-regulation form the foundation for more mindful, meaningful relationships. Now, let's go deeper into how simple Stoic practices like patience, forgiveness, and presence can completely reshape the way we connect with others. Think back to a recent disagreement or misunderstanding. What if, in that moment, you had paused, taken a breath, collected your thoughts, and responded with intention rather than emotion? Could that moment of self-control have changed the outcome? Stoicism teaches that when we approach relationships with calmness and clarity, we create the space for better outcomes, space for understanding, growth, and peace. Another essential component of Stoic relationships is forgiveness. Holding on to resentment or grudges often weighs us down far more than it affects the other person. Anger simmers quietly, consuming our energy and clouding our interactions. The Stoics understood that by choosing to forgive, not out of weakness, but from wisdom, we release ourselves from that emotional burden. Forgiveness begins with a simple truth. Everyone makes mistakes. By recognizing this, we create room for compassion, not only for others, but also for ourselves. How often do you carry old grievances? What might happen in your relationships if you let them go? Letting go doesn't erase the past, but it opens the door to reconciliation, to clarity, and to emotional freedom. Another Stoic cornerstone in relationships is acceptance, specifically, accepting what we cannot control. How often do we try to change others, to mold them into who we want them to be? That effort often leads to frustration and tension. But when we release the need to control and instead embrace people as they are, we unlock more authentic, peaceful relationships. Consider the diversity within your relationships, different personalities, habits, values. How does accepting those differences enrich your connections? Equally important is the Stoic emphasis on independence within relationships. It's natural to grow close to those we care about. But Stoicism reminds us, never lose yourself in the process. Healthy relationships are built not on dependence, but on mutual strength, personal integrity, self-respect, and maintaining your own interests are key to balance. So ask yourself, how do you stay true to who you are, even as you stay deeply connected to others? Finally, the Stoics teach us the importance of presence. So much of life slips by unnoticed, especially in our relationships. We dwell on past hurts or stress about future concerns, often at the expense of the moment in front of us. But every shared laugh, every conversation, every quiet moment is fleeting and precious. What could shift in your relationships if you were just 10% more present starting today? Practical exercise. This week, choose one Stoic principle each day: empathy, forgiveness, acceptance, presence, and consciously apply it in your personal interactions. Notice how these small shifts affect the tone of your conversations, the depth of your connections, and your own inner calm. Write down what you observe. Reflect on how these practices not only shape your relationships, but also reveal new layers of your own character. Because Stoicism is not a theory to admire, it's a practice to live. And as we move to the final reflection, we'll bring together the lessons from this journey, from finances to relationships, from fear to leadership, and discover how Stoic Quiet Strength can be the compass that guides your entire life. Over the course of this journey, we've explored how Stoic Quiet Strength can shape every area of life, from how we lead to how we love to how we live with integrity and intention. Now, it all comes down to this: your daily practice. By applying the principles of Stoic philosophy, self-awareness, discipline, compassion, presence, you can begin to cultivate a life marked not by chaos or constant striving, but by peace, purpose, and deep fulfillment. And the best part? This quiet strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build moment by moment, decision by decision. Each pause before reacting. Each choice to forgive rather than hold on. Each effort to listen deeply or lead with clarity. These are the bricks of your inner fortress, the foundation of a resilient, meaningful life. So now the question becomes, how will you bring Stoic Quiet Strength into your daily life? What will change in your mornings, your conversations, your challenges, if you live guided by this steady, unshakable mindset? You don't need a perfect day to begin. You just need a deliberate step, because growth doesn't happen all at once. It happens in the quiet, consistent return to what truly matters. Final line, powerful closing in the noise of the world. Let your strength be quiet, and let your actions speak the loudest.